Hey guys, I figured it'd be a good idea to show you guys how I would scramble a 60 cube multi-blind for someone else in competition. Um, with the last video, I don't know if who's seen it, who hasn't. I talked quite a bit about duplicates, and I've had three in the past year in competition, and they've been screwing with me pretty bad. I think it's over now, but I did mean to talk about my opinion on how it can be prevented. It's really not hard. I think multi-blind scrambling is scary, and people think it takes a really long time. It really doesn't. It obviously takes longer than any other event, but I think it can be done very quickly and efficiently and safely without much effort. I think the WCA just needs to come up with a set, strict system. I don't know if I doubt they can. I don't think they'd put it in the regs, but I know a lot of comps have like printouts for new competitors on how to judge if they wanted to help out. I think something could be made like that. I think I saw them talking about that on the forum. I might even, if that doesn't happen, I might even make my own and just submit it with my cubes next time, just to be safe, because I'm pretty tired of duplicates. And I also just don't want anyone else to experience them. Obviously, I'm not the only person, but they suck. Everyone can agree they suck. But looks like I grabbed 8 cubes by accident. I'm doing a row of 7 here. But yeah, I think I'm just going to go over my system for doing it. It's really easy, really quick, and not that much. It really doesn't require that much effort. So as you can see, I'm using TNoodle here. This is the official scrambling program for the WCA for like every event. For multi-blind, it's 7 scrambles per page. And this is kind of one of the reasons I think we have so many duplicates in comp. Obviously, it's good that it's actually set to 7 per page because there's a solution to the problem. But I think a lot of people at home, they probably scramble for multi-blind in 1 or 2 ways, or 3 ways. The first way is they just don't do multis. They don't know. The other way is, and this is how I did it for a while, I would literally just open CS timer, go to 3 blind scrambles, and it's funny, I accidentally generated a 3x3 round 1 page on here, but I'm ignoring that. The second way is on CS timer, you hit like 3 blind scrambles and you just double spacebar it all the way. So you always get 1 scramble at a time, and you just keep going until you reach the number you want. And in doing so, you can arrange the cubes in square shape as you go pretty easily. And the third way is using like a scramble generator on like CS timer has one. That's what I've been using recently. You can pretty much just generate as many as you want. And on CS timer, you can actually just like highlight as many as you want. So I do it like per row. I'll highlight 8. I usually do 8 because I'm in the 60s. I'll highlight 8 scrambles, scramble them, make sure there's no dupes, then highlight the next 8 until I'm finished, and just repeat until I'm done, and then do 1 check for dupes, and we're done. But the thing with TNoodle is it's always 7 scrambles. So I think that's the core problem because everyone's doing different size attempts. And that's why it's really crucial we do rows of 7. We scramble in rows of 7, which I'll get into later. But so my process is I'll talk about what I do when I first scramble a cube, I guess. The first thing I look at is the top center. I just make sure that that's correct, and then I just look at the rest of the pattern on top. And 95% of the time, that means it's scrambled correctly, honestly. But just to be safe, I actually flip the cube over and I check the corners on the bottom. Well, I also check the corners on the top. And I do this to ensure there's no corner twists, because that makes sure that every corner is correct. Because I think I actually corner twisted a cube earlier in this video. It was like the second cube, I think, actually. And by flipping it over, I knew I had a corner twist. And upon inspecting the bottom corners, I saw which way I had to twist the other one back. So corner twist, I prefer, honestly, over a duplicate. If I was in an attempt, most likely I won't notice it. So I'll just get a DNF at the end. I've never had to do this, but you can even probably find in video that it was at the beginning and maybe get it deleted. But I've never had that problem before. I doubt many people have. But it wouldn't be as distracting. It's unlikely that anyone would see it. But still, it's important to scramble correctly. So that's also what this process is. So pretty much as soon as I'm done with a row, I kind of just do a quick duplicate check. And all you have to do for that is just scan the 7 cubes in the row. It's really not hard. The only thing you have to look for are just recurring patterns, but the first and easiest thing is to just look at the top center. As you can see, actually, in that first row in the back, there's the 3 on the right have orange centers on top. That's like the kind of thing that where an alarm bell should be going off in your head. Like, oh, I should thoroughly check those a little more. But obviously, you can look at them right now. They're not the same. Like, they're different scrambles. But that's all you have to look for. And then I actually just go through and check the scramble sheet and make sure all the cubes are also scrambled correctly, because we might as well, right? And that's actually something interesting. My current PR had a duplicate, my 49 to 51, and the duplicate was a partial duplicate, meaning it was actually the scrambler mis-scrambled the cube on a duplicate. Like, he probably messed up a move somewhere or 2 moves, but it left many pieces unaffected. And I noticed it because it didn't affect the beginning of my tracing. Like the UF cycle and the first 3 targets weren't affected by the missed turn. So it was very strange. I actually never witnessed that in my life. And it's very rare. But that's also why it's important to just check we scramble correctly. Because if we're just looking for dupes, it's possible that something like that happened. And it was extremely distracting and weird. I don't even want to know the percent, like the chances of that happening. But yeah, so we might as well scramble correctly if we're taking our time anyway. I'm purposely actually going slower here. I'm not going super slow. I'm going at the exact pace I would go for someone else. The most I've scrambled for another person in comp is for Stanley. I scrambled his 46th attempt a few weeks ago. And this is pretty much the pace I went at. And I had Braden check the cubes at the end. And it was really it didn't take that much time. But this is the exact process that I used. So yeah, this I'm timing it just to see what it comes out to. You'll probably be shocked how little time it took with all the checking I did as well. So yeah, what else? So yeah, every row, just check, make sure you scrambled it right. Just do a quick check the corners. And then at the end of every row, do a dupe check. Just check the top centers, check for recurring patterns. And then I just look at the page real quick again and scan them all, make sure they're correct again, just based on like the top face, you know. And I just repeat that for all the rows. Here there's 8 rows of 7, and then there's gonna be a quick row of 4 at the end to equal 60. And yeah, so. And I'll go back into rows of 7, why it's crucial that you do it this way. It's so easy for error checking to have a page equal a row, just to have them directly correspond to each page. I think this is probably one of the this is probably overlooked or just not thought of, but I think one of the main causes of duplicates, my theory is that the biggest cause is people trying to take a shortcut and go straight into square shape as they're scrambling. And if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, is in the multi-blind regulations, the cube should be arranged in as square a shape as possible. So this means if it's a 64 cube attempt, that would be 8 rows of 8. 49 would be 7 rows of 7. And if it's not a perfect square, it's the closest one possible. So for 60 here, the closest square here is 8 by 8, so it would be an 8 by 8 with 4 cubes missing, and it doesn't matter where those 4 are. That's pretty much just up to preference, your preference, or if the competitor specifies that they might want something, you can set it up for them that way. But that's how the cube should be arranged at the end. And I think because people are so pressed for time with scrambling multi-blind, that they think it's a shortcut to just go straight into cube shape. Cube shape, like square shape. And like I said, that's really easy to do at home with scrambling programs where you're not restricted on page size, like CS Timer. But with TNoodle and in competition where it matters most, it's restricted to 7 per page, and it's just safer to do 7 rows of 7 all the way. Doesn't matter what size attempt. Obviously, if it's less than 7, it's just 1 row. But and this is why. like there's no, it's, I can see someone just being tempted with looking at a 60 attempt and being like, oh, that's going to be rows of 8. I'm just going to scramble. And then you're going through the scramble pages. You do 7 and you're like, oh, but this is 8. So I have to take the first scramble of the second page and put it on this first row here. And then you can even be thoroughly checking and making sure you're scrambling correctly. But then the next row is 6 scrambles, the last 6 scrambles of the second page, and the first 2 from the third page. And you can thoroughly check, but after a while, it's just how out of sync the rows are with the pages. It makes error checking very difficult because, you know, you can have a dupe at the end of a row and the beginning of another, and just in different spots, and it's just not worth it. It is not worth it. There is no specification in the regs as to where the cubes have to be in the square pack. All you have to do are rows of 7. It's so easy to check and scan through a page and a row simultaneously. It's so much safer, and you'd be amazed how quick it is to arrange it to square shape at the end of a damn scrambling. After the end of scrambling, it's like for this attempt here, it's literally taking 4 and moving it to the side. And that's probably the case with like all of them. It's so super fast at the end. It's not saving time going straight to square shape. And I feel like most people would know this, like experienced multi-blind scramblers, or not even that experienced. It just makes common sense. But I can see people in the moment being panicked and just trying to take that shortcut that doesn't actually save time at all. It makes things way worse. It'll cost time with all the thinking you're doing, trying to make like thinking between rows and pages, than just doing rows of 7. So that's probably, in my opinion, one of the things that's being overlooked. I don't know if anyone does it that way, or it's just or I'm just making this up. It just seems like something someone would do, and I understand the temptation. So that, honestly, in my opinion, is probably the biggest reason. And it's not just for 6 bigger attempts either. Let's say it's a 25 attempt. You'll be tempted, oh, I'll just do rows of 5. And you take 5 scrambles from the first page. And then the second row, you take the last 2 scrambles from that page, and then the next 3 from the next page. And it's the same process. It's a 25 attempt. You just have 4 pages. You only need 4 pages. 3 rows of 7 for 21, and then 4 cubes at the end. And you just quickly make it into a 5x5 after all the checking. So that's why I feel like we're getting duplicates on all different size attempts, 30s, 20s. I mean, it's probably really hard to dupe something under 10, or like it's probably to be really not paying attention to dupe a really small attempt. But you know, it's doing rows of 7. There doesn't even have to be any special treatment for attempt size. It's literally the only difference is how many cubes, how long it takes, and how many cubes you have to check. There doesn't have to be any difference in. There doesn't have to be any special treatment at all. But so yeah, enough about that. So that's the easiest fix, in my opinion, is doing it this way. And there's another one that's probably not thought of a lot, and I'm really against it. A lot of people team up on sets. This is more common in bigger attempts like mine. I've had some people team up on mine. Sometimes it went fine, but my most recent dupe was on a team up. And what blew my mind about that was it was a perfect 49 square. It was 7x7. And that just is clear to me that it was from miscommunication. It's so easy to miscommunicate. And I can see teaming up being appropriate, or like not appropriate, but I can see it being done efficiently, but it's really not safe. It could be safer if we have printed out sheets, like literally printed out sheets. But I mean, let's be real, it's 2023 and we're all using tablets and laptops. It's just not happening. We all have access to every page, and the chances of miscommunication happening just because of that is so large. One small miscommunication is a duplicate at this point, especially for big attempts. I doubt there's more scramblers than sets of cubes to scramble. So I think it's better to just divide and conquer. it's not worth the risk. It really isn't. You can probably switch after scrambling and double check each other's work, which I'll get into in a sec. But yeah, it's not worth it teaming up on scrambling sets. Oh yeah, so what I'm doing here is I'm doing a final check, and this is actually perfect timing. This is the third point I wanted to make is I think there should always be an experienced person, whether it's a delegate or just an experienced helper, always double checking someone's work. Even when I scrambled for Stanley's attempt, I wanted Braden to check just in case. It turned out there were no dupes, but I felt a lot safer having someone else check my work for Stanley's, just to put my mind at ease, and it's just easier and safer to have two sets of eyes to catch mistakes. So here I'm kind of playing the role of that second person, though I also do think the scrambler should do one last big check like this. So we could add a little time to this this final time here if we want to add another pass of checks. But pretty much we're just looking at every scramble sheet and going sheet by sheet, row by row. It's so super easy. It's not hard. It's so unbelievably easy. So this could be like the delegate's role, or just anyone experienced. Just a second set of eyes, I think, would change a lot. It would help everything. And yeah, so those are really the three things I think need to be changed. And the WCA probably have something like, I just really hope they come out with something a little more standardized. It'll probably be similar to this. It might be a few small tweaks, but generally I think it's the same idea everyone's having. This isn't rocket science. It really isn't. It's just multi-blind it's a very hard event to organize, but I think with one set standardized way of doing it, everyone will be a lot more confident competing in it, running it. And I mean, look at the time right now. I've scrambled 60 cubes, thoroughly checked them. This is like my fourth time going through them. I'm about to do like a fifth right here. This might be my fourth. I don't remember. But right here, I'm actually just doing like a dupe scan. I'm just looking at, I mean, we're already pretty confident there aren't any dupes, but you just have another scan in there, you know. I'm just scanning the tops, looking for anything, any recurring patterns. And look, I'm already at the bottom. It's that easy. And then there's really only one thing that's left here, and that's square shape. So this is actually kind of satisfying. Nice. All right. So I actually remember having a little brain fart here, like, where do I put these? But yeah, you just put them right to the right. Because, yeah, I'm used to doing rows of 8, so for a second I was like, what? But yeah, so also I'm keeping them in orientation. I don't think it matters at this point, but just to be safe. And yeah, so again, if you're trying to go into square shape as you're scrambling, look at how easy that was. I just moved 4 cubes. I actually changed my mind and I moved these 3 down here because I always like to have the empty space in the back right, just because it's farther away from me. Oh, it looks like Utah. Anyway, another thing is some multi-blinders like their cubes in a certain spot on the table. I personally like mine on the right. So if they don't specify, then it doesn't matter. But yeah, so you just cover it up. And that's really it. So I hope this helps. I hope you learned something. And I really hope, I just really hope things get better. And I think developing some kind of system like this will do that. So it's really that simple. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.